You're listening to HR Leader, inspiring you to lead the workforce of tomorrow.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the HR Leader podcast. My name's Jerome Doraisamy. I'm coming to you today from Camaragal Land in Sydney, and I'm very pleased to be joined in the studio by two guests. First of all, we have George Haramis, who is the co-founder and CEO of MoneyGPS. Hello, George.
Hello, Jerome. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And we also have Chris Sinclair, who is the head of employee benefits at Howden. Hello, Chris.
G'day, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Now, today we are going to be talking about why financial well-being has moved up the priority list for people and risk professionals and HR teams, and why it is shaping up as such a critical priority for businesses to be focused on for their workers moving forward. Gents, there's so much to cover here, and no doubt there's quite a number of reasons why financial well-being is such a pertinent and timely conversation for us to be having. But before we get into all of that, tell our listeners a little bit more about yourselves. George, I might start with you. Can you tell us about yourself and the work that you do at MoneyGPS?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks, Jerome. Look, MoneyGPS was established just over 6 years ago, and we are what's called a fintech, financial technology business. We operate in the financial services space. We saw a need to fill a gap in the marketplace in the sense that within financial services, the cost of traditional personal advice is quite high, and it's getting higher every day. I think the median fee these days is just under $4,700 for a complex plan. So in order to deliver affordable advice to the bulk of the population who can't afford $4,700 initially and then ongoing, we've developed proprietary technology to the company that allows an individual to take a self-led journey, and at the end of that journey, they can be provided with a single topic financial plan for $180 as opposed to $4,700. It's purely a technical journey. However, we do have what's called a hybrid offer, and we have people involved that they can speak to along the way, so they can get their questions answered, reassurance as to what they're doing, and put them on the right path to really achieve their financial goals in an affordable and timely way.
Yeah. And Chris, what about yourself? What about your journey?
Yeah, so Howden's an insurance broker, risk advisor, and employee benefits consulting firm. So I lead our employee benefits arm that sits within our people risk business. So for us, it's really in terms of helping organisations with attraction and retention in respect of people, but then also managing the risk of being human to their workforce, right? So historically, we've utilised products like health insurance, salary continuance insurance, life insurance, superannuation, and now we're very much focused on financial wellbeing to help organisations attract and retain people, and also manage health risks across their workforce.
Yeah. And I understand that your two businesses collaborate, or you have partnership in place. Can you tell us a bit about that, Chris?
For sure. So understanding and being focused on people risk. If we consider the four key pillars of wellbeing, the fourth is financial wellbeing. So in Australia, organisations have been very much focused on the other three pillars, being physical, mental, and social wellbeing, and rightly so. They've been focused on those areas. And financial wellbeing has always taken a back seat, particularly over the last kind of 15 years or so. You think about now, interest rates, cost of living, inflation, housing affordability, it's really kind of come back to hit us straight in the face, right? So it can't be avoided anymore. And it's a real issue, right? So half of Australians say that the cost of living is harming their mental well-being. And only, George touched on the cost of financial advice, only 20% of Australians can really afford that. So it's that 80% of Australians that are need this advice, need this support, but they can't access it due to affordability issues. And for us, that's where we really got focused on financial wellbeing and thinking about what we can actually do to drive material improvements in people's health and wealth outcomes. And historically in Australia, financial wellbeing has looked like discounts on cost of living and things like that, and that certainly has its place. But we really wanted to think about how we can actually make a material impact and improvement to people's wealth journey, and that's where our partnership with George and MoneyGPS has come about. Because financial wellbeing has never really had the right focus in Australia. So now with MoneyGPS to be able to improve the wealth journey of employees, it's really delivering tangible outcomes like never before.
Yeah. George, do you have anything to add there?
Well, I do, and obviously support everything that Chris just talked about. I mean, from our perspective, we have a bit of a history in working with employers for quite some time in corporate superannuation and designing benefit programs for employers in the past. We saw that technology makes the real difference here. It allows us to scale working with larger numbers of employees at once using the technology, but more importantly, the technology allows us to develop solutions for those employees and people that use the service at a very affordable price. When we first started the business, we ran a number of focus groups in terms of what people thought about digital advice. And the overwhelming response was, we're just looking for solutions. The problem is that we can't afford the solutions available in the marketplace right now. Yeah. The solutions you offer are great because it means that we can use the tech when we want to. It runs 24/7. We now have the human sort of money coaches who are salaried individuals with us. So there's that hybrid offer that I mentioned before. The critical thing also is that as part of the process, we think that education plays a really big part in this. Most of the people we deal with are not at a financial don't have a level of financial literacy that you think, okay, they understand a whole bunch of financial terms and concepts and things like that. And that's fine. That's the bulk of the population. Yeah. So we incorporate education into the process, into the advice process, and make sure that people understand the types of advice topics they're undertaking. We have over 40 video-style education modules, so that whole package of services delivers the solution to the end user, which they quite value. To be honest.
Oh, sounds great. So, gents, let's dive into all the issues surrounding financial wellbeing for the workforce, and I wanted to start this part of the conversation by asking you both for a bit of a lay of the land, because there are so many different challenges that workers are facing right now, and as a result, so many different challenges that HR professionals are facing. And no doubt financial wellbeing is a hugely important topic, but why do you both see it as being something that needs to be right up the top of the triage of urgent priorities? Could you paint a bit of a picture for the urgency around financial well-being? George, I might start with you.
Sure. If you're an employer and you work in the HR space, then you'd understand that there's a high degree of lost productivity because people are stressed, financially stressed. Their focus is not on their job. They're not being as productive as they could be. Absenteeism is high if there's financial stress. There's a lot of research around to support that. So being able to support someone to reduce their stress, to give them those solutions that make their lives more palatable, if you like, particularly in this day and age. I mean, I remember when we were designing benefit programs 20 years ago, nothing's changed. In fact, the issues and the problems are more acute these days. So the stress is higher. Therefore, anything to do to relieve that stress and to focus on the fact that you can help them in their lives outside of work means that they can focus on their work properly. Hence the increase in productivity, reduced absenteeism, and more focus on the employer's requirements as well. From a HR perspective, I think that would be very, very important because you're there to help the employees. It would most likely reinforce specific corporate messages that you want to get across to the employers as well. So we're finding the requirement for financial well-being is higher than it was a long time ago. It's more important now than ever, to be quite honest, Jerome.
Yeah, and Chris, I mean, you were touching on things like inflation, cost of living, and there's obviously a certain amount of economic and geopolitical uncertainty at the moment, and so people are understandably, perhaps unsure or anxious even. From your vantage point, what are some of the issues that we see on the ground with employees?
For sure. I always like to speak to our clients about the challenges that they're facing, right? So there's kind of 4 key areas that they're talking to us about. First is psychosocial hazards. So at first, people might think, what's the link with financial well-being? If you think about the prosperity of our people, of our workforces, there's a clear link between that and psychosocial hazards, right? So if you think about the identified psychosocial hazards being some of them job insecurity, inadequate reward and recognition, family and domestic violence, these psychosocial hazards are all influenced and impacted by our people's wealth journey, right? So there's a clear link there. The second of the 4 key issues is back on attraction and retention. So for employers to really be able to differentiate their employee value proposition and deliver tangible care, most organizations look at people as their key asset, right? So we're certainly seeing that in some of the growth industries, they're really rethinking their approach to employee attraction and retention. Some of these growth industries like retirement living, social care, education, manufacturing, construction, they've never really had to think about attraction and retention in the way they're having to now. So we're seeing, big shifts in approaches from organizations to be able to attract and retain their key asset. Third one is aging risk, right? So we're living longer, we're working longer, and often that's for social reasons, but it's often for financial reasons as well. So this is a really interesting one in that clients have been really focused on this one. With us, if you think about 16% of the working population is now aged over 65, it's really becoming problematic for them in terms of our health isn't going to always keep up with our individual objectives there. So it's creating a lot of risk in the workplace in terms of having people over age 65 in the workplace. So employers are looking for ways to help people into a comfortable retirement, right? So financial wellbeing has been very much looked for from employers like that. George touched on it, financial stress. So the research is undeniable, right? Black Dog Institute talks to financial stress costing the nation $39 billion a year. Is a significant issue. So employees are then feeling that. Other research shows that 2 in 5 working Australians spend 1 day a week worrying about their personal finances. So George touched on productivity earlier. It's a significant issue that plays on people's mind, and then that presents in the workplace as well. We've got the fortune of being a multinational company, so we can look into other countries and see what they do. If you look at markets like the UK, which is quite similar to Australia, they're probably a few years ahead of us when it comes to financial wellbeing. Research there shows that 50% of organizations are currently investing or will invest in the next 2 years in digital tools to support financial wellbeing. So other countries around the world have understood and addressed and are in the process of addressing this issue.
Yeah, so it sounds as though from everything you've both said that there is so much that businesses need to respond to in the world around us, from cost of living and inflation through to other issues, but there's also a lot that they will have to proactively anticipate, such as the aging workforce, which you touched on, Chris. We've also got more generations in the workforce than ever before, and so there are certain snowballing things going on that mean that if businesses don't get on top of their employee value proposition on something like financial well-being, then things are just going to run away from them. Is that a fair presumption?
Look, I think it is, particularly that, if you look at any workforce, there's lots of different age groups in that workforce. So they'll have different needs at varying points in time. The older you are, it's more, trying to build your wealth or looking at retirement. The younger you are, maybe even trying to get a home. What about your super and everything else that goes with that? So the varying needs lends itself to delivering a broad-based program focused on, at the start, getting their financial position right and making sure that they're able to initiate activities such as digital advice or access educational services to focus on achieving their long-term goals. as you sort of go up the age curve, we're finding more and more people that use our service also want to speak to someone. So that interaction with humans as well as the technology is very important. So, and I think from a HR perspective, it would be a challenge to try and figure out exactly what do I give my workforce, right? Because we've been doing things for such a long time in terms of the base HR principles. Now we're finding that financial stress, financial well-being is a big part of our considerations. How do we bring in a program that will fit our requirements, that is compliant, that runs 24/7 and meets the needs of all our workers? That's a challenge for any HR professional, and that's why the combination, well, from my point of view, of the Howden Group and MoneyGPS provides a total solution for any HR professional to consider.
Yeah, and I want to dive into some of the practical steps that need to be taken shortly. But from everything you're both saying, it really sounds as though just offering people pay rises and siloing the problem to simple remuneration that can't be the approach anymore. And hopefully, businesses across the country aren't just looking to do that; they're trying to take a more holistic approach. So for HR professionals listening to this, I've no doubt that they all see this as being a crucial priority and one that they need to make sure is near the top of the to-do list. Before they get into some of the practical solutions and strategies, what do you both see as being the hard and fast or black and white questions that they need to be asking of themselves and their teams so that they can then implement the right kind of approach moving forward? Are there certain things that they need to ask so that they can create the right kind of pathway?
Yeah, good question, Jerome. I think George kind of touched on it just before in terms of all our clients are saying to us, right, in terms of how do we actually provide a solution, a benefit and a tool that's going to help everyone who's an individual in our organization on their own journey. The company has 500 people. They've got 500 individuals who all have their own journey. And this fits the bill, right? In terms of, my 22 years in working in this industry, there's never been a tool, resources that is so agile that it can fit to 500 different people's journey, right? So I think that's the real question that HR professionals need to be asking in terms of, is what we're doing today supporting each person in their own individualized journey?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
I know. I was about to say, totally agree with Chris, and it reminds me of some research that we used quite some time ago, where the research had been undertaken with employers and employees, and they asked both groups, "What are you looking at from your employer? What do you think employees are looking at?" And there was a real mismatch, and that was because of the different age groups within the employee base. So the solutions these days are great because of technology, and technology is moving really quickly, technology, digital and AI, we're able to provide a raft of different solutions to suit any type of individual, no matter what age group, whether that's a digital advice plan at $180 or if someone wants a will, or if they're looking at aged care for their parents. These types of solutions are part of a broader offering that the employer can introduce. Compliant offering, obviously, but it means that you're providing these services that meet the needs of the individual at a specific point in time. Yeah. Because not everybody wakes up in the morning, and, from my point of view, thinking they've got to get a piece of advice. It might be about their mortgage or their will, as I mentioned before. So to have flexibility in that offering is really important, but to use the tech is very important because it's the only way to get to people and scale. Yeah. Because you might have 500 employees, you might have 50,000 employees, and the only way to get to them all is through technology and AI, to be honest with you.
Okay, so let's talk solutions. Can you both run me through how best businesses can implement the right kind of practical strategies here and also ensure that they can then deliver a measurable impact? Happy for either of you to start there.
I'll start. It's okay. I'll start. Look, from our point of view, the way we work with employers and large groups is that we have a fairly structured approach to this. There's the implementation, onboarding and implementation. We like to understand from a HR perspective what the key messages they'd like to get across are. We can incorporate existing employee benefits on our platform, so we can customize our platform quite readily. We have a range of other financial services, from lending to insurance to estate planning to aged care and what have you. The reason for that is because our algorithm and our calculation engines, and I don't want to get too technical, looks at the person's entire needs, which is really important, because that was the feedback that we got from our focus groups. We want solutions. And at the end of the day, some of those solutions require product. We don't retain any commissions on things like that. We're a fee-for-service business. So from our perspective, we like to engage with the HR professionals and their colleagues to make sure that our messaging is right. We like to launch the service across the employee base at the same time. We have ongoing support. Very importantly, though, I think from a HR professional, what you want to see is that if we're introducing these types of services, how much of a difference is it going to make to the employee? And we're about to incorporate, we used to have it in our system. We took it out for particular reasons, but we're about to incorporate a financial wellness scoring system in the technology. So what it does, Jerome, is that when you start the process, our platform will measure your level of financial wellness. Could be 15 out of 100. And as you progress through the journey with MoneyGPS and Howden, as you start implementing some advice plans or using other services, we can measure how that financial wellness score starts to lift. The next step for that is measuring how that lift will translate into productivity. So as part of the updates to the platform, our financial wellness scoring system, with a new partner, which I'm not in a position to sort of name today, we'll be able to measure that change in productivity as the level of financial, or the scoring of that financial wellness for that person starts to increase. These are tests that have been done with the University of New South Wales. They're a global award-winning business, and we're really excited about them coming into the fold, if you like, with ourselves and Howden.
Yeah. Chris, tell me a bit more about the practical strategies from your side.
Yeah. So, thinking from the practical point of view, we've also got to take a step back and go, 1 in 2 Australians expect their employer to provide financial wellbeing support. So it's critical for people to understand that. The great aspects around this offering, from a practical point of view, there's 3 key pillars to it. Education, so helping people with their financial literacy, giving modules to people to self-learn, self-educate at their own pace, right? Giving them a plan, a health check that provides employee with a roadmap and a guide of where to focus. And that's the real missing link. We're a wealthy country, we've got good social systems, but people don't have, we've got low financial literacy in Australia, and then people don't know where to start and where to focus on without going to a financial advisor, which we touched on is not accessible for 80% of Australians. And then to be able to give people access to bite-sized advice, right? So from a practical point of view, platform's, really strong. George touched on it's agile. It can be a single source of truth for other benefits, which our clients really like. That's often a missing piece for Australian employers as well, is to be able to have a benefit platform. So to have the agility there is really fantastic. And then to hit those 3 kind of points right in terms of improving financial literacy, giving employees a plan so they can go forward with confidence in their own wealth journey, and giving them the opportunity to then buy bite-sized advice, gives an answer to people that they've not had before.
Yeah.
And I just totally agree, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, financial literacy is very important. Education is really important. Bottom line is, at the end of the day, people are looking for those solutions.
Yeah.
So, what do I need to do to sort of move the dial?
Yeah.
And that's what we do.
Yeah, fair enough. So looking ahead, what are you both looking forward to in this space?
So for me, we're really excited to have launched this to our own employees, right? Mm-hmm. So that's really fantastic, and we've had really great engagement and outcomes there. We've then had a really good soft launch out to clients, and really great engagement and feedback and recognition of the financial wellbeing challenges that exist. So for us, it's around progressing that into a harder launch across all our clients.
Yeah, nice. What about you, George?
Look, everything that sort of Chris talked about in terms of engaging clients and employer clients in particular with the Howden Group, but also enhancing the technology, because that's really the engine that drives this. We use digital technology and about to incorporate some AI technology as well, which will help us to ramp up the ability to engage with more and more people. Yeah. I think down the track, AI will take a big role, will play a big part in this. As the younger employees start to come through and use the service, they're quite comfortable in using the tech, in using the AI. So we think technology will play a very strong component in the way we grow the business and engage with the employers. Also, of course, making sure that the offering is relevant going forward. So it changes over time as new products and services change. So that's very important from our perspective.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for coming in. Really enjoyed this conversation. Before I let you go, how can our listeners get in touch if they want to learn more? George, I'll start with you.
Thanks, Jerome. Look, the best way to do that is to jump onto the MoneyGPS website, and it's MoneyGPS Professional, moneygpsprofessional.com.au. There's a section devoted for employers, and all you need to do is fill out a form, and we'll be in touch with the employer. Yeah. Very simple.
And Chris?
Exactly the same. On the Howden Group website, I'm there. You'll find my details.
Chris, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
And George, thank you.
Thanks, Jerome.
Thank you to the listener for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give us a rating and review on whatever platform you use to listen to podcasts, as it'll help other HR professionals discover and enjoy this show. We'll see you again next time.